Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Oh, right now, huh?
Mhm.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Facebook. How are y'all doing today? Martine Malivers here. Please get pen and paper or your journals. We're going to do a journal exercise today. Please have something to write with. You guys might want to be on a device where you can take screenshots. Um, as I always request, please bring open minds and open hearts, hold space for each other. We're going to talk about setting boundaries today. Welcome. Don't forget to hydrate your coffee, your tea, or your water. I wish I had some coffee. Or your water. Thank you so much for joining me today.
If you are in group E
Good
or group
morning,
F.
Zoom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please have your journals or something to write with, pen and paper. We're going to talk about setting boundaries this morning. Thank you for being here with me. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together. Grand Rising family. It's Martine Malivers, aka the Changemaker. I'm a research nurse. I'm a child sexual abuse prevention educator. I founded Touch the Rebellion Incorporated, a nonprofit that teaches preventative measures against child sexual abuse. And I'm a WOO facilitator. Want to put that on the end of my name too. I'm walking in my purpose, which is to gain consensus and identifying toxic cultural norms and replacing them with new and healthy norms for the betterment of society. Welcome to I think it's about my 10th session entitled Setting Boundaries and a Precedent, a Woman's Right, Part 2. Some of you were with me last time for part 1, where we talked about the possible effects of not having good boundaries. We talked about things like sexual intimidation, sexual coercion. I still can't say that word. We looked at a few examples, the Kiki Palmer and Trey Songz situation where he put her in a video after she asked him not to. We looked at my friend who gave in to pressure to have sex with someone on their first date, and my personal struggle with a friend who pressured me into having sex. We talked about the common denominator in all three of those scenarios, or one of the common denominators being absent or improperly set boundaries. We talked about differences between victim blaming and taking ownership and accountability for our persons. And we were just a community of mixed emotions and opinions. There was a lot of back and forth. It was triggering for some people, and all of that is okay, because regardless of how we each feel about the who, what, where's, and whys of these situations, we should all learn how to set healthy boundaries. And that is the point at the end of the day. Regardless of what's happening in the world, from the smallest to the biggest things, is just better to know how to set good and healthy boundaries. We should teach our children how to set healthy boundaries. And most importantly, we should learn and teach how good, effective boundaries are vital to setting a precedent for how you want and should be treated. And that is just what we'll be talking about today. But before we get started, I want to remind you all to hold space for each other. Like I said, some of the topics we may be talking about, I really want to just get into the basics of setting boundaries. But some of the topics are some things that come up may be triggering. So like I always like to say, look at your screen, at all the faces, and just check in with each other. Make sure everybody's okay. Hold space for each other, as we always do. Remember, this is a judgment-free zone. Some of the things that you hear may be really surprising to you. You may think they're crazy, you think they're stupid. Let's remain respectful and help each other out, because that is the point. And with that, we're going to get started. So admin, if you would bring up the first slide. And again, let me just remind you guys, you might want to be on a device where maybe you want to take some screenshots of these things. But everything that I'm about to share with you, you can just do a simple Google search. There's a lot of information, especially from psychology websites that talk about setting boundaries. There's a lot of information on Google. It's actually what helped me put my presentation together. Are we getting that slide up, admin? Did you guys hear me?
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Sorry,
Yeah,
family.
okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so like I just wanted to make sure that he heard me. So like I said, we're just going to get into the basics of it and stress the importance of setting boundaries. Oh, and I was going to tell you guys to grab a pen and paper, grab your journals. This would be a good time while we're getting set up here, because we're going to do a journaling exercise. We're going to go out into breakout rooms. So be prepared for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the first slide. Bear with me now while I adjust my screen. Okay, so I want to make sure we're on the same page and go over personal boundaries, because that is mostly what we'll be talking about today. Okay, so personal boundaries. Are you guys able to see the whole slide?
No.
Can you adjust that? Come on.
Okay.
The view is kind of cut off once it's settled.
Is it there now? Can you see that?
It's cut off.
Cut off.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
corners are cut off.
sides.
It's too wide.
Wide. Okay.
And what is the time season for this program? Well, the archery season starts, the early season starts in September, with a statewide season in October. Then November, you have the permit season, and then you have muzzleloader season, shotgun season comes in. Shotgun season comes in December. And then you have bow season comes back.
Right. Any clearer?
We can't see the slide.
All right.
We're seeing the landing page for the drive.
Okay.
All of our money that gets donated goes
Mhm.
to paying your pocket this week.
So you've been doing this a long time, and I feel like it is a bit of a.
Bear with us.
Get organized and get the butchers going and
We have, I believe, newer admins in the space. So there's always a learning curve.
It would be a cool idea. I grew up in Pennsylvania. And
I'll let you know everything is all right. Patient.
And I kind of thought that this was something that the state had to run or whatever.
While we're waiting, does anybody want to bring up anything that was still unsettling or anything that they can remember, want to highlight from the last session if you were here, part one?
There's no one done anything to bring it for the counselor. So I just thought, okay, what can I do?
I'll jump in, Martine. Come out, you can take the slide down. I'll support
Okay, thank you.
the process. Yeah, I just remember how robust the conversation was, and just us going back and forth, even around the Kiki Palmer piece, just the positions that folks took with regard to that, and how this subject matter can be so nuanced sometimes that people can be in conflict and at odds. The nuance can create confusion. It's like, oh, was the person giving off vibes that they were cool with it? I remember folks were like, oh, she was giggling, saying no first. And then, so was that like an indication that she was like really good with it and then pretending like she wasn't? I just remember just how complicated the conversation can be and how different people will take different positions and stay in that, even though there's nuance to it.
And we talked a lot about sexual intimidation and things like that. But one thing that I really want to make clear is that boundary setting is not always about that, about trying to prevent sexual intimidation. You can set boundaries for anything, and you should set boundaries for almost everything. And we'll talk about that. Wonderful. Slides are up. Thank you. I'm a little slide dependent today, something that I'm working on. So I want to talk about personal boundaries, which is mostly what we'll be talking about today. I'm trying to get my screens together here, guys. Bear with me. A personal boundary is an indication of bounds and or limits. It's an open communication meaning something that you are letting be known. Communication does not always have to be verbal either. So it could be a nonverbal communication as well. It's an assertion of personal values in order to preserve them and to protect oneself against being compromised or violated. Precedent. Precedent is an established usage, tradition, standard, example, or rule to be followed in the future. So I'm doing something now so that I make sure that people know how to treat me later. Okay, these are limits that we set on other people, which indicate what we find acceptable and unacceptable in their behavior towards us. You can move on to the next slide, please. Want to talk about the benefits of setting boundaries. Number one, there are a lot of benefits, but we're only going to go over three. Number one, better self-esteem. We're actually going to go over four. Setting boundaries definitely improves your self-esteem. It gives you a sense of accomplishment, a sense of being in control. It's the ultimate self-care act. Setting boundaries promotes mental and emotional stability and self-control, okay? Because it kind of curves reactions. It's preventative. Number two, conserving emotional energy. Setting boundaries cuts down on reactions and overreactions. It's preventative again. It protects your peace, your mental, physical, and spiritual spaces. It prevents burnout because burnout is a direct result of not setting boundaries sometimes. And sometimes it's even a result of not setting boundaries for ourselves. Number three, more independence and agency. Again, setting boundaries gives you a sense of control, control over your personal space and the outliers in your environment. It promotes autonomy and a sense of identity. Number four, which is not on the slide that I got help from Google. Better interpersonal relations and relationships. Setting boundaries promotes selflessness, okay, as opposed to selfishness. Respect and appreciation of individuality. It creates a safe and trusting environment and shows love. Setting boundaries in relationships promotes safety. It brings people closer, and boundaries are necessary for good and healthy relationships. Okay, you can move on to the next slide now. So how do we define boundaries? Before even thinking about actually setting boundaries, ask yourself, what rights do you have? What rights do I have to set this boundary? Okay, that's number one. Number two, follow your gut. Setting boundaries is actually honoring your gut, okay? Honoring your instincts, your intuition. It's setting boundaries helps you to maintain that too. It helps to make that voice clearer. Um, your intuition, your instincts let you know when you need to set a boundary, when you're facing a violation. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not. Sometimes we have to check in with ourselves physically. Heart is racing, our breathing is changing, we're sweating. That sometimes lets you know that you're being violated and you need to set a boundary. Determine your values. Setting your boundaries actually help to uphold your values, okay? Especially your self-value. You can move on to the next slide. What is your worth? Before even thinking about actually setting boundaries, ask yourself, what is my worth? Literally, why do you deserve this boundary? That is going to help you to be able to execute it, especially if you're a person who is not used to setting boundaries and you have a history of not setting boundaries. Because I'm going to tell you, once you start taking that stance, standing your ground and setting boundaries, you are going to piss people off because they may be so used to taking advantage of you, and now you're totally switching up on that. Okay, so you have to. That's going to be a learning curve for you. It may make you feel uncomfortable, so you have to keep your sense of self-worth at the forefront. Okay, and there are different types of boundaries that we can set for all sorts of reasons. Again, it's not just about sexual violations. How many people have a lock on their phone? Okay, that's a type of boundary. That's a physical boundary that you can set. It's also a nonverbal boundary, right? I don't have to tell somebody I have a lock on my phone. If they try to get into my phone, they're just going to see that there's a lock on there. Okay, so what is your worth? Here are some things that you may base your worth on. Intellectual worth. You are entitled to your own thoughts and opinions, as are others. And I love this as are others piece, because setting boundaries is kind of a selfish act, you know, as some self-care acts are, not in a negative sense, but selfish, pertaining to myself, right? And the one thing that we sometimes do is prioritize our boundaries over other people. So it's not only about setting your boundaries and maintaining your boundaries so they are respected, but we also have to consider and respect the boundaries of others. That's the only way this works. It takes two people to maintain a boundary, one person to set it, but at least two to maintain it. Okay, emotional worth. You are entitled to your own feelings to a given situation, as are others. Physical worth. You are entitled to your space, however wide it may be, as are others. Social worth. You are entitled to your own friends and to pursuing your own social activities, as are others. Spiritual worth. You are entitled to your own spiritual beliefs, as are others. So as we go through this, I want you guys to think about, you know, what is your worth? What are your values? What's important to you? You can go to the next slide. What are your rights? these are some basic rights. Okay, the basic rights aspect of boundary settings makes things a little clearer as well as official, because there's just certain things that are. It's not a debate. Okay, we all have basic rights. I have the right to say no without feeling guilty. I have the right to be treated with respect. I have a right to make my needs as important as those of others. I have the right to be accepting of my mistakes and failures. I have the right not to meet the expectations of others. When you really believe and embody these things, it makes it a lot easier for you to set your boundaries. You can go to the next slide. So how do we create boundaries? There are lots of different ways, again, because there are so many different types of boundaries, but some important things to keep in mind is the actually 5 things that are on this screen. As you can see, I added some things to a slide that was already there. Number 1, be assertive, proactive, and honest. The best way to set a boundary is to do so before you are violated. A lot of times we set boundaries as a result of being violated, but it's better to be proactive. We can set boundaries for personal space. We can set boundaries for sexuality. We can set boundaries for emotions and our thoughts. We can set boundaries for our stuff, our actual possessions. We can set boundaries for our time and our energy, for our culture, religion, spirituality, ethics, all types of reasons, okay? So boundaries also range from loose to rigid. Boundaries can be negotiable. Healthy boundaries usually fall somewhere in between. Sometimes we have to have rigid boundaries depending on the situation. Boundaries too can be situational. You can set one boundary with one person, but kind of modify it for another person because of your relationship with that person. Maybe you have authority over one person and the other one has authority over you. It's not cookie cutter, but it's always good to be consistent. Okay, let's talk about honesty for a second. A lot of times we are manipulative in setting our boundaries because of feelings of guilt, fear, shame, all due to the muscles that control advocating for ourselves being very, very weak. We'll set a boundary, but it'll be based on a lie, which makes it a weak boundary. For example, I have a hard time setting boundaries with my coworkers because I like them a lot. We're like a family. These are the first set of people that I truly, truly have love for, and we're very, very social. So when I set my boundaries, sometimes I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I'm tempted to blame setting a boundary on maybe my supervisor. You know, I can't sit and mess with y'all so much because of my supervisor. But when you do things like that, it weakens your boundaries, okay? And that gives people just leeway to infiltrate your boundary. Because if my supervisor isn't there, if I blame not being able to do something on my supervisor and then she leaves, now they can say, oh, well, you can do it now. So it's always better to be honest. Do we have a share? Does anybody have any thoughts as of right now? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Do you have any examples before we move on? I just want to check in with you guys. Anything going on in the chat, Kamal?
Yeah. Oh, Kamal, you can definitely cover this if you wish. I'm just looking myself too.
Yeah, just there's a few people in the chat. Yeah, Adam said selfish with the thumbs up. Jacqueline just talked about honoring yourself and others. And then Adam said again, there's a need to be have a boundary agreement, right? And so these are some of the areas that are coming up in the chat so far.
Okay. Anything from Facebook, Sakia? Thank you for your shares, family.
Not yet, beloved.
Okay. Okay. So It is honesty is very important in setting a boundary. Okay, set a precedent. Set a precedent so that you are not setting a boundary out of a reaction. Okay, reaction to a boundary violation. Again, a precedent is setting a standard or ritual for how you are to act or what to do in the future. So again, you want to be proactive in how you set your boundaries. Learning to say no, that's huge. Okay. Um, and when you're proactive, you cut down on the times that you have to say no, because saying no is hard for a lot of people. And learn that no is a complete sentence. That means you don't have to say no because in one of the rules of setting boundaries is not over explaining. You can explain, but definitely don't over explain. But you don't have to give any explanation when you say no. Safeguard your spaces, because this can be nonverbal communication, like locking your phone. Okay, safeguarding your spaces, your possessions. Get support. Setting boundaries may come easy to some of y'all that are on here, but it's very hard for some people. Like for me, setting boundaries is extremely hard depending on the situation. So you may need an accountability partner. Well, use Google as support. Google is great. Okay, you can put in there an actual boundary, a specific boundary you want to set, and you will get so much advice. There's a lot of information on this because it's a huge problem. Check in with your mental health professional. They will help you. A lot of mental health professionals have written a lot of articles on setting boundaries. And if it comes down to it, seek the authorities. That could be the police, that could be your boss. If your boundaries are constantly being violated, especially where you're putting your, well, I don't want to say you're putting, especially where you are at harm physically or for abuse, even mental abuse, get some help. Contact the proper authorities. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. How to maintain your boundaries. You know what, before we go into that, I want to give, and you can keep this slide up, but I want to give an example of effective communication. Okay, because the perfect way to set a boundary is ensuring it includes why the boundary is important to you and the possible consequences.
Oh, Martine, you sound muffled, love.
Oh,
There you go, you're back. I don't know
that,
what yeah.
I don't know what that was about.
Mhm.
Okay, so I was saying the perfect way to set a boundary is ensuring it includes why the boundary is important to you and the possible consequences of violating said boundary. Communication is vital in this process, and using I statements have proven to be very effective. You want to communicate the whys, the what and the whys. What is my limit? Why is it important to me? So I am horrible at using I statements. It's something that any therapies, especially group therapy, family therapy, couples therapy that I've ever taken, they always tell you to use I statements, and it's not something that I've mastered. So I have two examples from Google for you guys. So ineffective communications, okay? My sister keeps going in my journal. I can say to her, keep your hands off my journal. Or I can use an I statement. I feel violated when you read my journal because I value privacy. What I need is a space that I know is private to record my thoughts. You guys see the difference? Anybody have any opinions? I definitely want you to weigh on this, Shawnee, because I know that you probably have perfected I statement.
Not necessarily. I think it's situational too, and then where I am emotionally, how I approach I statements. And I always say, because of my relationship with words and the muscle that I've built over the years, that I can be manipulative and approach it from a low vibrational space if I'm not checking myself in an integrity. Read the first one again.
Okay. So the ineffective communication is simply saying, keep your hands off my journal. And the effective communication, allegedly and supposedly, is I feel violated when you read my journal because I value privacy. What I need is a space that I know is private to record my thoughts.
Mm. So I have something to say about both of them, and then I want to hear from other folks in the space because y'all have been soaking it in, and I know that there's communication out there. So I'm all about specificity, especially around emotional expression. And for the second one, the word violated has like a certain energy to it. For me, a low vibrational energy that may actually manifest something that you don't want. So what I'm thinking about is if the word isn't violated, because when I think about violated, I think about crime, because our subject matter with you has been around sexual abuse and predatory behavior. I think about that. And so context is everything. So if someone said to me, I feel violated because you read my journal, I might not be as open as if they said, I was hurt or it upset me, but that's just me. Others may have a difference of opinion, but being clear and specific when you are sharing like what the impact is when someone has crossed the boundary is so important, because if they're not clear about the boundary, it may very well be crossed again. And then you're like, oh, they ignored me. They don't care about me, when it's really, they didn't get the communication or the magnitude or the impact of, what they did. So we have a hand raised here. Martine, you ready?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So Jacqueline, if you can unmute.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, beloved.
Good morning, Jackie.
Hi, that struck a chord, the second one that you stated, because I actually violated my daughter's diary when she was away at college. I read the one that she wrote when she was in high school. And it was because I was very concerned about how she was dealing with things, and she was ghosting me a lot, and I couldn't get in touch with her sometimes at school. So I started reading her diary, and I saw some things in there that were very disturbing, but I did not tell her about it until we had a confrontation. And she had said to me before, well, mommy, I don't care for you to, I don't want you reading my diary. It bothers me when people read my private thoughts and stuff like that. I disregarded it. I disregarded it, thinking as a parent, I have a right to do this. I need to know what's going on with you, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until she said the word violated that it struck me in the heart. And I was like, oh, wow, and I had to apologize. And we had to talk about the lack of communication and how that occurred and everything, and her lack of trust, and my lack of trust, and so I agree with you, Shawnee, in terms of that word being kind of fierce. It really is, but I needed it. I needed to hear it from her that way in order to get it. I didn't get it until she did that. And that's when it struck me, because I had been violated. So just that feeling of that was like, whoa, okay, slow down. Let's go back and do this. Let's fix this. And so that we've been working. I can't even say we're done with that. We've been working for many years on that. And I'm complete.
And that's tough as a parent, because sometimes we do find, sometimes it's life-saving information in diaries and going through kid stuff. But they can set boundaries, and she did set that boundary, and you did violate that boundary. She communicated that to you. So, you're not going to be able to please or be effective towards everybody. And again, it's all going to take practice, for sure. Thank you for your share, both of you guys, because that let us see, two sides of it. But, they say that that is the most effective way to do it in I statements. And that I statement pretty much definitely stated what the boundary that they wanted to set was and why it was important to them. But it did miss a piece that I mentioned. Does anybody know what that is? So there was three parts. There was stating the what, stating the why, and what else? Anybody? Okay. The consequence, right? There has to be a consequence. Now, that doesn't mean a threat. That doesn't mean, I feel violated when you read my boundary and my value, my privacy is important to me, and I'll bust your ass if you go in it again. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be that. Some
Mm,
consequences are just a result, a naturally occurring result of a violation, a boundary being violated. So I'm going to get into that for a little bit. I want to read some of the Zoom chat. And Zakia, you check in with me. Let me know if anybody said anything on Facebook.
she's actually dropped statements in from Facebook.
Oh, from Facebook. Great.
Mhm.
Okay, so Chantel said, I set up weak boundaries often. I put others before me in setting my boundaries. I don't like hurting others' feelings. Girl, I overstand. I overstand. Making others feel uncomfortable around me, and that trumps my own feelings, which I know is unhealthy. You are not alone. Please know this. I'm not very assertive. And when I'm not, and those boundaries are weak, I end up feeling uncomfortable in the situation throughout the day with the person. I get it. Does anybody else get it? That is a major issue for a lot of people, and it's hard to admit, but we are with you. And again, advocating for yourself, for a lot of people, that muscle is weak. This is going to take practice. And this is what, I want you guys to write things down, take screenshots so you can go back and look and practice, because it's definitely not something we've already created a bunch of bad habits concerning boundary setting. So this is not something that's going to change overnight. From Facebook, Jim says, setting up boundaries is critical for our well-being. Sticking to them is necessary as well. Absolutely, because if you set a boundary and you're not consistent with it and you don't stand your ground, your boundary is worthless. It's actually going to make it harder for you to set boundaries with those people in the future. Chantel says, again, it may come down to me not wanting to engage in tough conversations or to be confrontational and looking at it as being confrontational in the first place. I'm gonna get to you, Chantel. Okay, Zakia says from Facebook, Jem says, I have a resistance to keeping diaries and journals for that very reason. Some people will ignore your objection and still keep reading them. Now, let's talk about this for a second, because again, we said there's different types of boundaries, and there is nonverbal communication and nonverbal boundaries. What nonverbal boundary can you set with your journal? Anybody? There are journals that have locks on them, right?
Yeah, as a child, I did that. So it was crazy to me to do it to my daughter when I knew as a teen and as a young girl that I locked my diary. I used to keep it with me too. So that
So
was
you set an effective boundary where your daughter did not, all the way at the
exactly.
end of the, because she asked you not to.
Yeah, she
But
thought I
kids
was
should
dishonored.
know that we as parents feel like we have so much authority that we may violate your boundaries, right? And if I don't know, I've seen a few journals with locks on them, but most of them don't have locks on them,
Not
right?
anymore. Not anymore.
But you can put it in something and lock it, right? Or you can hide it. And that may not always work. And that's the one thing that I want to say. This is not 100%, oh my God, my life is going to change. I'm never going to be violated again because I'm learning how to set boundaries. No matter what, no matter how good you become at setting boundaries, there is going to be boundary violators. That's just the way of the world. It just, unfortunately, that's what it is. Okay. But you will cut down the risk of violations by learning how to set um, proper, strong, effective boundaries.
I want to add one thing too, though. I locked my diary and journals up because I didn't want my brothers and sisters. I came from a family of 8. I didn't want my brothers and sisters to read it. I wasn't concerned about my mother reading it because she was a little bit emotionally detached. So I wasn't concerned about her looking for it. I had this extreme fear when I had my children, of them doing something to harm themselves, even though they gave me no indication of that. And I don't know if that was a projection from me, but I just had this fear, and so I was very overprotective, very intrusive, for lack of a better word, micromanaged everything, friends, everything. So I think my daughter did it as a form of rebellion to, write things in the diary and then insist that I don't invade her privacy. And then when I did, she was extremely upset about it. And I'm complete.
Yeah. You know, I talk about good, strong, effective boundaries because there are boundaries that are, they could be strong, but they're harmful to ourselves. Sometimes we need help and we set boundaries against the help, to our detriment. So there's definitely this is a very, very broad, detailed, layered thing. So, as parents, sometimes we feel that that's the best way. And in this case, there was nothing there, but sometimes there is. So that's a discussion for another day. Because you have people who are dead set, I knock on my kid's door, I don't go through their stuff. And sometimes it's absolutely necessary. There definitely have been lives saved that way. And then not only with children either. Okay. Denise said, my mother found my hiding space. Adam says, filtering is another form of non-verbal boundaries. Adam, you want to come on and tell me what you mean by that? Good
Yes,
morning.
Martine. Good morning, Martine. When I say filtering is another form of nonverbal boundaries, I'm trying to say that for example, you give your child a device or you allow them to watch TV, the parent can filter what the children should watch or what the children shouldn't watch, and also when they go on the internet, the parent also has control over what the children should see on the internet versus what it shouldn't see. That's what I meant when I said filtering is a nonverbal boundary. It's not to be explained and incomplete.
Very good. That's a very, very good example. Very good example. Abimbola says, I didn't have the language until today on why I cut off a 40-year relationship after I was disrespected. My boundaries were crossed. Do you want to come on and talk about that, Abimbola?
Peace.
Please.
Yes. Really, and Shawnee hit it on the head, the nail on the head, when she said, if you didn't set boundaries, it will happen again. And after I was disrespected, it just pissed me off. And for 2 years, this brother called and everything, and I just said, no, no, no. And the brother passed away. But I felt good that I stood up to my boundaries. Disrespect was not tolerated in my life. And I was so happy. And even now, even when thoughts come to my head in terms of maybe you should have, I think about, and like I said, I didn't have the language, but I had set a boundary, and disrespect was not tolerated. So it was 40 plus years. It was wonderful, but the first time I was disrespected, I was like, oh no. So thank you for the language and thank you for the reinforcement that I did the right thing.
Yeah, because it is hard. Setting boundaries is hard. It's not clean cut. Sometimes it severs relationships altogether. You may feel guilt behind that, but it's necessary and it's about your comfort. There doesn't have to be a logical explanation for it. It doesn't always have to be rational. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you should be able to say that, and you should be able to tell people how you want to be treated. That's it.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't do. But I know when, and so that's why I was saying in terms of the language, because I didn't set boundaries. I didn't think there was a need. I didn't have that language. But I know when something happened, I know how I felt. So this is right on. So thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your share. Okay, let's move on. We can bring that. Oh, wait, we have one more share from Facebook from Lucinda. Hi, Lucinda. My daughter has a diary, a group chat, etc. on her phone. I tell her to keep in open communication with me, but I tell her if I feel or see secretive movements or lack of communication, I explain to her she leaves me no choice but to go through everything. As a parent, I'm tempted to, but I know how it was as a child and feeling violated. So this part of the share, I tell her to keep an open communication with me, but I tell her if I feel or see secretive movements or lack of communication, I explain that she leaves me no choice but to go through everything. Is that a boundary that was set? What do you guys think? Nobody?
I want to say that I'm glad she came out and said that to her daughter. Right, I didn't say that to my daughter. I'm glad she did it. That she said, "Look, if I'm seeing something that doesn't look right, you're being secretive, you're not communicating, I may go through your stuff." I never said that. I just did it. So I appreciate the fact that she set a boundary as to how much she, as a parent, would let go. I didn't do that, and
And but you're gonna do better moving forward. Release that,
yeah,
Jackie.
she's
Release that.
she's a grown child now. I
Yeah,
mean, not a
intentions
child.
were pure. But this is
Intentions,
the
but
reason why
please
I
don't let
brought
me
this
be
part of it
misunderstood.
up is because she actually set a boundary.
Yeah,
She
she said
said,
it.
she
Hmm.
said, look, you can have your privacy up until this point. That's when I'm going to need to check in on your stuff. So thank you so much, Lucy. Okay, let's go on. Come on, we want to bring that slide back up. We're going to talk about consequences because the effective communication offered by Google, it did state the what, it did state the why, but it didn't state the consequence. Another example that they gave me while Kamal's pulling that up is, you're making this vacation exhausting and I don't want to do all the things you've planned. That is the ineffective communication. The effective communication is, I feel overwhelmed when every minute of our vacation is planned. What I need is some time just to relax and see what happens. Now, the end piece of this is, otherwise, I can feel exhausted. And that would be the consequence. So again, it's not necessarily threatening. You can do that too. Sometimes you have to say, look, I'm going to do this if you don't do that. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just letting them know the result of violating that boundary. So that's what we mean by consequence. Um, You don't need to have the same boundaries or comfort level for everyone. Okay. And this is good to keep in mind, especially if you feel like Chantel expressed and you're learning to build that muscle. You can customize boundaries. And you probably are already setting boundaries and not even thinking about it. Okay. Locking your front door is setting a boundary. You lock your front door for strangers and people you don't want in your house, right? But you can customize that boundary by leaving a key under the mat for somebody who you, and letting one person know, hey, the key is under the mat, you can unlock the door and come in. Okay. But put my key back under the mat. Okay. You're letting them borrow the key. You're not giving them the key. So that in itself is setting a boundary. Telling someone, I will do ABC if you do XYZ. Okay. Signage. Okay. We're going to talk about signage later. Chore lists, do not enter signs, I'm in a meeting on the door, leaving notes. Those are nonverbal boundaries. They can be. So why should we create boundaries? When should we create boundaries? What if my boundary is based on an assumption and I'm wrong? What if I just can't, because of all the things Chantel mentioned? Okay, I don't like confrontation. It all comes down again to your comfort, maintaining your comfort and your peace. You don't need permission to set your boundaries. Okay, That's something that you really have to own. And again, it's going to take practice. I have an example for you before we go on to this slide. I just want to do this real quick. I'm in a group of people, okay? I've abandoned religion. Most of them are Christians. Regardless of how I feel about Christianity, I respect religion, me personally, Martine. If you worship a frog and that's sacred to you, it's sacred to me, okay? I believe that everybody should be able to practice whatever they want and believe whatever they want. I'm in a group of Christians, like I said, for the most part, and there's somebody who feels the same way that I do. They are not a Christian, and they start making fun of Christianity. They even make fun of Jesus Christ himself. And it is upsetting me. I'm uncomfortable, but I look around and the Christians, they're not really laughing, but they're not reacting to it like I'm reacting to it. Okay, my instincts are telling me that I'm uncomfortable. I'm sweating, my breathing is increasing, I'm getting upset. Is it my right to share a boundary, to set a boundary in this case? Is it my right? And anybody can just come off of mute. I'm sorry, I probably had you put that slide up prematurely, but we can leave it up. Does anybody really quick? Do I have a right to set a boundary in that instance, especially if nobody else seems to be offended or acting on it?
So, this is mother-in-law. Yeah, I have some girlfriends. I have two sets of girlfriends. One who says if whatever is being said is not needful, not loving, and doesn't support, then you just don't say it. And then I have another set who just talk about people, it doesn't matter who. And I'm telling you, when I'm in the other group, I say, well, you know what? I can't engage in this because I feel that blah, 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 blah. And if that's not what they agree to, then we don't have to share space anymore. But I'm not going to sit and have people talked about or have someone else's beliefs violated. So I think that you do have a right to say it. And I'm complete.
Okay, and I agree. And the reason is simply because I feel uncomfortable. That is enough. And I can set a boundary. I can say, I feel really uncomfortable right now. I don't like it when people make fun of other people's religions. Please stop. Okay, I'm being clear. You may lose some friends over this because a lot of people are not able to express themselves. I'm pretty sure that people are getting offended. That could be the consequence. Okay, but I wanted to give that example because you can set boundaries whenever and however you want to. It's about how you feel and your comfort. Okay, so we're going to move on to this slide, how to maintain boundaries, because we can set boundaries all day, but it means nothing if we're unable to obtain them. And before I do that, I just want to acknowledge the time. It's about to be 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, if anybody needs to leave. Thank you for being here. You can catch the end of the segment on the Facebook replay. We appreciate you. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Have a good day. Anybody who needs to leave. I don't know if they'll drop contact information and stuff in the chat. But we're gonna move on. So how to maintain boundaries. Consistency is key. You have to be consistent. Not consistent in the sense that your boundaries have to be the same for everybody, but when you set a boundary, you need to be consistent within that boundary. Within reason. Sometimes we need to modify boundaries, but if the boundary seems to be working, sometimes we want to pull back because of the after effects. Okay, we set a boundary, it worked, but now people are mad at us. Now we hurt feelings. It's about you and your comfort. You have to learn how to get over that. We have to build that muscle of advocating for ourselves. Stand your ground. That goes right along the lines of what I've been saying. Address boundary violations immediately. This is very, very, very important, okay? If you have a consequence, that you have control over, you need to put it forth. You need to put forth that consequence, because we can't be giving empty threats. Always follow through. So consequences could be punishment, discipline, reporting, canceling benefits. Again, they can be just a result, a natural result of the boundary being violated. And a consequence can also be detachment. Sometimes when people repeatedly violate our boundaries, we have to detach, either detach from that specific situation or detach from that person even. It's good to check your boundaries, especially if they're not working. You need to assess them. Are they clear? Are they rigid, or are they negotiable? Do you need to make them more rigid? Do you need to be a little more negotiable? Are you being consistent? Are they effective? Do they need to be modified? Nothing wrong with going back and modifying your boundaries, especially even experts have to do that sometimes. So at this time, I would like everybody to go into breakout rooms, and I'd like for you to use everything that you've learned. And while you guys are setting that up, I want to share my screen. If somebody could give me co-host, everything that you learn, I want you to set a boundary on behalf of a person in a scenario that I'm about to present. So using everything you learn, remember, you got to state what, you have to state why, you have to have a consequence. So as a group, I want you guys to go in and write out how you would set this boundary if you were this person. And give me 1 second. Let me just look for my.
Martine, how many people in the breakout rooms, love?
We can do, how many people are here? 3 to 4, or if we can do 2. Also, not doesn't need to be an even number.
Okay.
Okay, can somebody read this for me? Somebody.
I'll read it. To the lady of the house, if you are not going to wave at me, please do not wave to my husband. It makes me very angry and uncomfortable. I don't want you to have to come face to face about this.
I don't want to
I
have.
don't want to have to come face to face about this.
What do y'all think about that?
That's a good boundary.
Is it a good boundary though?
I don't know about that.
It's written on a napkin. I don't know where she put it. Somebody found it and posted it on Facebook.
Serious. The lady might have posted it on Facebook.
Could be that too. So if she did, she probably wasn't saying, hey, if she did, it probably was to make fun of it, right? Because that's kind of, why are you waving at somebody's husband but not the wife? Well, I don't know what the reason, maybe she has good reason, but I want you guys to think about a better way this boundary could be set. We're gonna go into breakout rooms and work on that.
All right, so the number of minutes, just to create a boundary around the breakout rooms, because there are 3 people in the room. How much time for each person to share so that we can have balance in the space?
How much do, let's do 1 minute each person, and we'll give them 5 minutes in the breakout room in case
Okay.
leave
All
room
right.
for error there.
I'll have mostly 3 people in rooms and then 1 set of 4. So let's see how this goes. And here we go. Make sure that you accept the room. Come out, gonna bring it back.
So are we gonna have a room in the main space?
Yeah, hold on 1 sec.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Yeah, we can speak in the main space with those who have not elected to go in a room. So we have Gina in the room, me and you. hopefully Kamal will come back so we can talk to the Facebookers up in here,
Right.
here. Gina, are you there?
Hey,
Gina,
Gina.
she might be doing something else. So read the statement again for the Facebookers and then also for myself and Gina. I'm not sure. She bounced off, so I'm not sure what happened with her. But yeah, so just share it again if
Okay,
you
so
will.
this is obviously a neighbor. She says, to the lady of the house, underline, if you're not going to wave at me, please do not wave to my husband. It makes me very angry and uncomfortable. I don't want to have to come to face about this.
So this is hilarious, but I have seen stuff like this over the course of my life personally and then also professionally. So I view this as passive aggressive, even though the statement is like a threat. It's posted on the napkin. It's informally, like it's not even put together well. It's like you on impulse, while as you were wiping your mouth from eating McDonald's, just wrote this message on and posted it on my door. And I'm like, it's a passive, cowardly kind of way, even though it sounds gangster. It's like writing me a note talking about something I may not know what the hell you're talking about. So it's not an effective boundary to set, and it can set something off that you're not ready. It can bring problems you ain't ready to manifest or to manage, because the person may not appreciate that at all, and they might be about it and come knock on your door and be like, yeah, face to face, let's do this. You know, those are some of the people that I know, and they have issues with anger and stuff like that. They're like, oh, this person is threatening me, or they might take it to the authorities. It's like it's written and this person threatened me. So it's not a good idea to do it this way, in my opinion.
Hey, John Carl.
Good morning, Martine.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. I'm very well. And you?
I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. What do you think about this letter? Do we have access? Do you have access to Facebook, Shawnee?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, is anybody saying anything?
Let me see, because Zakia's not in the room with us. So John Carl, did you hear the question? We're talking about boundary setting.
No, I did not hear the question. I actually just came on. I was a little shocked. I'm like, wait, there are only 3 people on it. Then I had to put my thoughts together. Like, okay, we're in breakout rooms.
Okay. So I think a better way of setting this boundary. So what happened, John Carl, is somebody wrote a note on a napkin to their neighbor saying that they would appreciate it if they would stop telling their husband hello if they're not going to say hello to them as well. So the neighbor must be only saying hello to the husband, not acknowledging the wife. That's making the wife uncomfortable. So she said something about it. She set a boundary, which I think is a very good thing, but she wrote it on a napkin. So we're trying to determine whether or not this the effectiveness of this boundary. And Shawnee already says she doesn't think that that's very effective. I agree. Is Facebook saying anything?
Well, Zakia put in the chat that Candace Harper said that that's a boundary her husband needs to be setting. And I don't know about that one either. I just feel like sometimes I've had people confront me about something and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like I might have been waving, or just like, I'm a friendly person. So on my block, if I see somebody standing in their yard, or, if they walk out and we're crossing paths, I'll say good morning, or I might wave. And I'm not thinking about them on a deep level. I'm just being a courteous neighbor or just a friendly, nice person. And I just say, hey, I wave and keep it moving. So this person, sometimes people are watching and they're in a context that is like out there in the stratosphere. And, I'm not saying it's not possible that somebody can cross boundaries and be kind of flirting and doing stuff. I'm not saying it's out the window, because on the continuum, it could be that too. But some folks, the lens that they're looking through is based on their own reality. It's like your husband cheated on you, so now anybody you see is suspect.
That's true, but let me stop you, especially in respect of time, right? Let's say this is true, because there are some people who are that bold or taunting. We do have these kind of people. So if this was to happen to you, right, you're sure that that's what it is. Instead of leaving a note on a napkin, what is a more effective way of setting this boundary?
I would say what Candace said, if there is an issue, like, yeah, it is for the husband to say something, or maybe y'all can go together or ask for a conversation. Yeah, for me, I'm like, yo, this sounds crazy, but I get what you're saying. If there is an issue, how do you address it? But I was going off, sorry.
No, because I know I have some friends that are very capable of doing just this. I'm so serious. And I have to yell at them. Like, I find myself setting boundaries for other people because it's ridiculous. But unfortunately, we do have people like this in the world. But I do like the idea of using a husband. Okay. So how many breakout rooms did we have, Shawnee?
Oh, good question. I think there were 7.
7. Okay, I want who's burning the share? Who was having like a really, really, really good chat in the break room? You guys came up with. Don't just tell me about all the stuff. Oh, I can't believe that she did that. I want people who came up with an effective boundary, an alternative boundary. Cassie, you have your hand up. Speak. Good morning.
I had a question. I know Miss Shawnee's saying, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now, did the person, if she's standing beside her husband and a person came up and it was obvious, I'm standing right beside my husband, they didn't say anything. Now, old Cassie may come out and I might beat her ass with that one, but I'm trying to depend on what is the context. Like if I'm standing right beside my husband and somebody come up and talk.
I don't think it was right beside. She probably has been out of sight and witnessed the woman waving to her husband. That's what we're gonna make it be at least. Because we want her to be correct in this. This happened. So maybe she was in the window and then she notices. I'm gonna tell you, this has happened to me, not with my husband. I'm still waiting on him, but my neighbors across the street with my parents, like they clearly have an issue with me. I don't know what it is, but they clearly say hello to everybody else and their mama and my mama, but they don't say hi to me. But I can only tell when I'm out of sight and I witness them interacting with my parents. So it's probably something along those lines.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification. I'm still need to work on that area, but I do see to put in the context of the husband being, because the person may not know that is their wife or partner. That's something we discuss. So the husband could say, hey, this is my wife here or my partner. So the husband, out of respect, change the context of the conversation versus the partner have the responsibility to really set that boundary. So the couple have that communication before anything kind of happened like that, maybe.
Okay.
And I am
okay.
complete.
And I like that, especially because she said, obviously she felt like she wouldn't be able to control her feelings in a face-to-face. So to either, because Shawnee said the same thing, either to have the husband take care of it and set the boundary, or they can go over and do it together. Okay, let me hear from somebody else. Thank you, Cassie. Anybody else have a real good conversation and a good solution, a good boundary?
Wait a minute, y'all were up in these rooms all this time and nobody.
Yeah, what we y'all doing?
Okay, this is
We were talking about the jealousy, how jealous she was. And
see, okay, thank you for being honest. Come on, Kaisha, what you got?
And that was
it was very similar to what the other woman shared. Jennifer, she shared the same thing, that she would put the responsibility on her husband. She said she will, if she sees that it's continuing, even after she speaks to her husband, she will speak to both parties separately and together, to let it be known that she doesn't feel good about being ignored. The husband being waved to, but not her. I shared that I was in a similar situation. I didn't even think about setting boundaries in this situation. And I just shared where it was my ex-husband's former coworker, whom I had a personal phone number to, and I called her while she was at work with him. And I told her, I said, women, girl to girl, women to women, I said, you wrong for taking my husband out to lunch. You wrong. Oh, well, it's just work. And girl, I don't want your husband. I was like, that's fine. That's fine. But I've invited you out places and you decline me, but you take my husband out to lunch.
Mm.
So I guess I said about, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing.
Yeah, and it may not be as effective as it could have been. It may not be in the format that we are talking about, but that's why we're having this conversation. It was a good boundary though, because sometimes just letting somebody know that you're aware of something, I see you. Yeah, that is setting a boundary. But we have to learn how to be clear, the whys again, and the consequence. But please, guys, don't let the consequence be I beat your ass. Or I don't want none of y'all going to jail behind this session because I don't have bail money. Thank you, Kaisha.
Thank you.
Lucinda says the same thing on Facebook. I think the husband needs to stand behind her. So a lot of people have said that they would use the husband. I think that that's great. We can absolutely set boundaries using other people. Again, there's no exact formula to this. Did any group come up with something, a good boundary that they set that didn't involve the husband?
Our group just reworded it. We didn't know if the person was the lady of the house or not, so we identified the person. So, dear Miss So and So, whatever the person's name is, I feel disrespected when you wave and speak to my husband and I'm there, and you don't do the same with me, and we ended it. So please don't disrespect me. We didn't come at her though.
Okay, so you
We're
just
gonna leave that as
rewrote the
that was
note.
gonna be a plan B.
You rewrote the note
Yes.
and you put it on paper, not a napkin.
Yes.
Okay.
And we didn't come at her saying, if we have to come at you, we left that part out. But we put in how we felt disrespected.
Right. And sometimes too, consequences are just obvious. These are all just suggestions. You're not gonna be able to do it exactly like this all the time. Jim says from Facebook that the wife can trigger a bad reaction from the person. That's true. We're worried about the person reacting poorly, but the person who she's talking to could be the one busting ass, right? So I think that is really good, adding the husband, putting the onus on the husband. Catherine says that sometimes people are intimidated by others and are unsure how to have exchange. Don't take it personally. These are all, things again, with building the muscle, being able to stand your ground, to be resilient, to be able to take people's reactions. From Facebook, Candace Harper says, hey, Candace, true Shawnee, and at the base of it is her insecurities. She needs to work with her man first. Oh, this is when we were having the discussion. The woman is only as destructive as they let her be. Now, this could be true because this scenario, there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what's going on, but her husband may not be aware. She may see, especially because, men tend to la, 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 but we're a little bit more focused. He may not even be aware of what's going on. So it would be good to communicate to him. Okay, so we're going to bring up the next slide, which is the black side, the B's of setting boundaries.
Yay. The B's of setting boundaries. Here we go. Yes. All right, one sec, y'all. I wanted to ask a question. I don't want to take it off on a tangent, but as we prepare for this, I'm like, do you even have to say it? Sometimes not saying anything is an option too. Let it play out. Because I'm like, if the person's not in my house, not in my physical space, like them, like, hey, and keep doing what you do. And if he keeps it moving, like, we may not have to say anything, but that's just me.
This scenario is bothering you.
No, it's not bothering me at all. I'm just saying how, if I don't have more context, I'm not going to be just doing any old thing.
You would, but I mean, that's assuming too. She may have all the context in the world. We don't know.
She could, true. But go ahead. Here you be.
Okay. The B's of boundary setting. So this is just a nice little synopsis of everything that we talked about. Okay, be clear and specific, state the why and the consequence. Um, you don't have to do a lot of explaining, and it's good to be concise. Okay, just short and to the point. Those of us who feel uncomfortable setting boundaries, we're worried about hurting people's feelings. We tend to over explain things. You don't want to do that. You want to be clear, concise, and you want to be firm. You want to be firm and stern. Okay. In the last session, we talked about Kiki, who was saying no, but she was giggling when she was saying no, and she was hiding in closets. And I felt that that may have contributed to why she was treated the way that she did. That's even though that could be a trauma response. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know what she was going through. But when we laugh or are playful when setting our boundaries, they make them ineffective. They make them weak. Okay. And then lastly, find balance. Okay. We don't want to overdo it as well. There has to be a balance with boundary setting. I want to do a poll at this time. And here's where the triggering part could be. There's a lot of questions that may trigger you, but I would really, really appreciate it if each and every person who's still on with us would fill out this poll. I'm going to go over the questions first, and I will model for you guys. Okay. So the first question is, have you, and Shawnee, you can get the poll together while I'm doing this. Let's give you a heads up. Have you ever played coy or said no when you really meant yes? And this is about anything. A lot of times we say no, but we really, really mean yes. Have you ever done that? And if you have never done that, have you ever experienced someone doing it to you, where they're telling you no, but then not because you assumed, but their actions or they switched up and you see that they really meant yes. Number two, have you ever felt obligated to return a favor or act of kindness with sex? Have you ever felt obligated to return a favor or act of kindness with sex? Number three, have you ever given into sex to avoid getting raped? That question sometimes confuses people, especially people who are assertive and very good at setting their boundaries. What? Have you ever given into sex because you were being pressured so much that instead of being raped, you just said, instead of avoiding a huge confrontation, you said, let me just give this person what they want. That's what that means. Number four, have you ever given into sex in fear of retaliation? You gave into sex because you were afraid that a person would say something about you. Maybe it was a boss at your job. You feared retaliation for you denying their advances. Number five, did anyone ever teach you about setting boundaries as a child or young adult? And I'm not talking about boundaries like if somebody at school hits you, you better hit them back, but how we're talking about now, how to set effective boundaries. Has anybody talked to you about this before now in your childhood or young adulthood? Do we have the poll ready, Shawnee?
No, something's happening with the system. So it said that someone else assigned in under my name and it made the poll inactive. So we're trying to work on it. And I can drop the poll questions into the space.
Just popped up on the screen.
I see
Oh,
something,
yeah, someone else launched it then, one of the other admin team members.
but I'm not able to answer. Are you able to actually answer,
You can't answer,
Jackie?
you're one of the hosts.
Oh,
Yes, I was able to answer,
okay.
but I don't see it now.
Oh, I see what this is.
Yeah, Kaisha, you should be able to use the poll and not answer the questions in the chat. and it tells you the percentage of folks who have answered it. So it would have to be either Zakia or Kamal looking at that. We have 31 people in the space, and a few of us can't answer because we're hosting, but the other members of the
Letting
community.
me submit my answers.
It's not letting you do it, you said?
It's not letting me submit my answers.
Oh, okay. It might be something glitchy. You can drop your answers in the chat.
Yeah. So Martine, I'm just curious, if one is married and is having a confrontation with husband, and to alleviate the tension sex has had, even though you didn't want to, is that considered rape? Okay, let's talk.
Oh, is that considered rape?
That question, yes or no to one of those questions, you for fear of retaliation, I think was one of the questions.
Oh, for fear of retaliation. Okay, yes, because the rape one was a separate.
Yeah, I don't have the.
But this, but let's just put it plainly like this: these can apply to marriage. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Oh, so I can see this. So I see 64% participation.
Yeah, sometimes there may be a glitch, and then sometimes folks don't see the poll or they're not paying attention. So it's up to you if you want to move ahead with 64, if you want to wait for more.
Okay, yeah, let's move ahead because the time is
71% now.
Okay. Yeah, the time is winding down, and I want to be able to do our last breakout room.
Okay.
And I'm almost done, Shawnee.
Ah, awesome. So Zakia, if you could launch, you could just complete the poll.
End it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And save the results for me, guys, if you can. And let's see.
Oh gosh. It's not doing that.
Okay, and those of you who are done and ready, you can break out your journals or something to write with. We're wrapping up, but I want to definitely personalize this stuff to you. So we're going to do an exercise that is all about you guys as individuals. I'm trying to help out a little bit. Oh, can we move on, Shawnee? Or are we waiting on me?
Absolutely. You're
Oh,
gonna do.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're just
Sorry,
waiting.
everybody. I see people writing and stuff. I didn't know what was going on. Okay, so we're gonna go into breakout rooms. I'm trying to put this in. I don't know if you guys have this in the chat. We're gonna do a journal exercise. I want you guys to think back to the last time you were violated. So we can answer these questions now. So you can start writing now. I'm so sorry, I just wasted a little bit of time. Think back to the last time you were violated because you did not set a boundary and write down what that violation was. So I want you guys to do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to write down your worth. This is in the chat too, in this particular case. So with this specific boundary violation, you're writing down, I want you to write down your worth. You can write down also your values, any rights that you feel that you had concerning this violation. Write down what boundary you should have had in place. Okay, so I want you to write a boundary. You can use the format that I said where you talk about, well, we want you to state what, why, and the consequence. Make sure you do that. But I want you to just write the boundary how you would have said it to the person, or maybe if it's not a verbal boundary, what you would have done. And then I want you guys to share in the break rooms and give each other feedback, okay? The feedback should be, is it a good boundary? Do you think it would be an effective boundary? Do you have any suggestions for each other? Ensure each boundary is clear, specific, concise, firm, and honest, that it sets a precedent for the future and explain why it's important. And then ensure that you stated a consequence for the boundary, either a consequence that you're going to put forth or that would naturally result from the boundary being violated. You guys can copy this so that you can have it to refer back to in the breakout rooms. So while you guys are writing this down, we can do the breakout room, Shawnee.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good
B,
morning.
hi. Write down your worth in this particular case. I'm not sure what do you mean by that.
Why are you worthy? Is that Gina talking?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it is. Good morning.
I'm sorry, because I have
That's
to always
okay.
navigate my screen. Write down why you're worthy of this boundary.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
We ready?
We're ready.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, Stacy. Thanks, Stacy.
Okay, I'll take Gina's hand down. All right, you want to have a conversation for the Facebookers?
Okay. Hello, everybody. So Facebook, does anybody have a violation that they would like to put in the chat and we can work with you? You can put in the chat what the violation was and what your statement would be if you were going to set this boundary, or if it was a nonverbal, what you would do in place of what you did after learning everything you learned today. And we also have Gina here. Gina, if you want to share as well.
She might be actually in between a breakout. There she goes, in between that
Okay.
breakout.
Okay.
So Kamal is here. Maybe he has one.
Hey, Kamal, what about you?
Right, I've been thinking hard about it. Let me go with what's come to mind. So I have a family member who dotes a lot and showers a lot of love on our children, but a lot of times in doing that, that love will be like her only focus, and it sometimes I see it as disrespectful, like when you come in and all your attentions, you don't greet anybody, you don't acknowledge anybody else. And I think it's just a violation of just some kind of code of ethics in terms of ways of engaging a family when you come to visit. So she'll be present, and I attempt to give her as much space to show love how she does, but I think sometimes it's convoluted and overbalanced by not being able to address me or address my wife, and all of the attention is going to the children. And so I think oftentimes it turns me off, and I have not communicated that's a real issue. So being able to just pull her and say that I value what you bring in terms of making a contribution and doting the children with love, yet there's still we're not chopped liver, right? And that there should be some level of engagement and interaction with us, just as a way of protocol to even model what healthy adults way we communicate with each other. So that's what's coming to my mind right now. I
So
just
was there
yeah.
a consequence there?
that there was no consequence because she's not aware of what has never been addressed before in terms of me saying that.
No, I mean, in
okay,
setting your boundary, because what that last part that you just said, I took it as that's what you would say to her, right?
right.
So I feel like it was good. You probably need to work on it a little bit more so you could be more clear. But what I think that I didn't hear a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So
A
what are
consequence.
the consequences of her behavior? Like when she violated this boundary in the past, or she continues to violate the boundary, what is the consequence?
That's a good question.
You said it already before.
What did I say? Let me
How it
see.
makes how it makes you feel in particular, and I'm sure others.
Right.
Right? That's the consequence. Because remember, again, a consequence doesn't have to be something that you're intentionally putting forth. It doesn't have to be a punishment. It doesn't have to be a threat. It could simply be the natural result of the boundary being violated. When you do this, we feel like this.
Right. Bringing awareness and making somebody self-aware of what they might not consider to be a violation, right? Because
And she may not even be aware of how it's making others feel. So if she cares about y'all, that's a consequence for her, because that's not what she hopefully that's not what she intends, right? And I think that you're pretty faithful that that's the case, right?
yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's not the case, that that's not what she's intending to do.
So
Right.
that's the consequence of her action, the way that you guys feel. So it's always good to state that, so they're not only aware of what the boundary is, why it's important, but how, the consequence. What is the negative side of it?
I see. I got it.
Great,
Yeah, no,
thank you.
thank you. That was helpful. Very helpful.
Is there anybody from Facebook? Can you guys see Facebook? We're closing in 13 seconds too, but we could use that as a share for the main room. Of what
We got kicked out.
Ooh, it was juicy.
I
I heard
answered
y'all.
I answered no to some of those questions, but then I just realized.
Who's speaking? Express yourself. I can't see. Where y'all at?
I think that was Celia because she was just having trouble getting off her phone and she had just gotten in to have her discussion and then we got.
Oh, yeah, because we're over time. We're over time. But any shares, any burning shares, and Zakia, let's check in with Facebook too.
Let me get back over. I was pulled back and forth into different places, trying to keep track of everything. So Candace had a comment that I'm going to copy and paste in right now, and they were listening to your room. So this is relation to your room, which I actually couldn't hear because I was pulled into a whole nother room.
So I had asked them, I had asked my Facebookers if anybody wanted to share. So see if anybody shared a violation and then their boundary that they would set, so we could give them some feedback.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a minute to look through there. I know a lot of you guys said that you weren't able to finish. Anybody want to go now too? We'll give you a little time.
There are no shares on Facebook that are like about their personal experience. They were engaged with what we were sharing in the main space, so we can move forward.
Okay. Anybody, especially people who didn't get to finish or share. Now's your time.
So this is Denise. In our room, and she was part of our room, we shared, two of us at least had a DV situation. And going back to your presentation, that you can set boundaries prior to. So we were in situations where we shared that we deserve to be loved, we do not deserve to be shamed, hit, all of that. But we also shared that our boundary could have been that the partner had exhibited domestic violence in previous situations. So instead of saying, I'm not going to do anything to cause him to do that, we, our boundaries is he's done it in previous situations. We may not be able to prevent him in this situation. So don't even engage with the partner.
Okay. So remember, because we're running out of time, state the what, state the why is it important, and state the consequence. The consequence doesn't have to be a threat or a punishment that you're putting forth. It could just be the natural result of the boundary being violated. Thank you so much for your shares. And I'm going to tell you, me going into relationships, that's a boundary that I set. Bro, if you put your hands on me, like maybe not in that way, but I do verbally have that conversation. I ask about history of hitting, because you will be surprised at how honest some people are. So that is a very good precedent to set and be proactive and speak about that beforehand. Stacy, you have your hand up.
Hello, good morning. Okay, I have to go to my notes then. Yeah, because we didn't get to share it all. It stopped. So should I just share like straight down the,
yes,
the list? Okay.
Share the violation and the boundary that you're setting. Those two things.
Okay. Okay. The only thing is I don't know if this was the last one. I doubt it, but this came to mind. I didn't want to spend more time thinking it was the last one. Okay, so the violation was ex-husband hanging up the phone on me more than once when things didn't go his way. So then I put for my worth, I'm worthy to be treated with respect. Rights, I didn't know if I was supposed to do the same for rights, like say what I have a right.
No, that's fine, especially because of time. Tell me the boundary you're setting now.
Oh, okay. So I skipped on down to before we have conversations, and I actually said that before we have conversations, please remember to be respectful and to treat me the way that you want to be treated, or the conversation we won't have conversations anymore. And he actually was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I do see how that happens and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we don't speak on the phone anymore because it has not been, and it's been months and it's fine.
Okay.
I'm complete with that.
So you stated the what, you stated the why it's important, you stated the consequence, and you enforced the consequence, right? Because that consequence was a punishment that you were putting forth. And that's the most important part. You have to be consistent and you have to follow through. Okay. Hallelujah. We are out of time, people, unless, I don't know, Shawnee. It's 7:41.
Can I still say something? Can you hear me now?
I'm always gonna say yes.
Well, mine was the violation was an attorney not respecting that my wish that an interview was over, and then he was asked to leave my office, and insisting that he wasn't going to leave until he got the supervisor, which I told him he could get. Then I had to raise my voice. The supervisor came in, and then he insisted that I should sit down before he left the office because I was a threat. And I immediately said, do I look like I have horns? That I'm a threat? You're threatened by a Black woman. This was a white attorney. And I just felt that, this is crazy what's happening here. And the supervisor did not handle the situation properly by diffusing it by getting the man out of my office. He finally did that, but then he proceeded to tell me that when I raised my voice at the attorney, that's where I went wrong. And then I said, but what did you do? So anyway, make a long story short, he said that he ended up sending me an email reiterating that I should have gotten help from him, and that he sent it to 2 levels above him. So I sat down and I wrote what I thought was a very scathing report as to his response as a Black man, a supervisor, 2 black people in office, 1 white attorney, and another person of color, Asian that is, would be disrespected by this man
And you as a supervisor, rather than make the man understand, look, you cannot come in here and tell our officers, that you're not leaving the office when you politely ask to leave, that the interview is over. So I wrote this email. I explained what he didn't do, what I think he should do. And then I went on to tell him that by his attitude, all he did was to embolden and empower this attorney to feel that it's okay that they can come into our office and demand what result they want when the person clearly was not entitled to a benefit. And I also said to management that you need to have some training so people know exactly what to do in these situations. And it just bothered me that how could in this day and age we still have people who feel that it's okay for white people, and I hate to say it that way, but because you're an attorney, what gives you the right? I'm the officer, it's my office. The interview is over. The person was not eligible for the benefit. You asked for a duty supervisor. He said, go to the front counter, you can get one. But you demand you're not leaving, and you insisted you're not leaving, and then demand that I should sit down in my office.
So, so what was the end result after you sent that letter, that correspondence?
I got a response from the section chief, and she said that she understood everything that happened. She was glad that I explained it because just going by his email didn't say enough, but she was very glad I explained everything. So however, they're going to be looking into this and make sure that people get appropriate training. But how in the future, get help. Call for someone.
Okay, so good. So that was actually an effective boundary that worked. This is what we're talking about. So glad to hear about 2 success stories. So you guys have examples. Thank you so much for your shares. Thank you so much for this time. Well, we're going to wrap up because it's time. It's time. We can bring up the final slides. I do have a special offer for you guys. I would like anybody who really, really wants to go in depth and work on themselves. I'm offering the first person to email me a 1-hour intro session on setting boundaries. Okay, you have 30 days to redeem the prize. So anybody who really, really wants to take a deep dive, please email me. And the first person will get a 1-hour free intro session on setting boundaries. Yes, these were great examples. Thank you guys so much for your shares. This is how you can contact me. Take a screenshot, my phone number, my Facebook that I still need help on, by the way, any social media volunteers. Remember that I teach child sexual abuse prevention first and foremost, and this is my email address.
All right, so Martine, we're so grateful for today's powerful and essential facilitation. It was a very engaging, grateful. So family, we'd like to have love offerings and donations made. You can do that through Zelle, QuickPay, Soul Leadership Development at gmail.com. Our Cash App is $ Spirit of a Woman, and the code, please be mindful of the code number 496MM, right? So please just share the love offering and be able to bless us for this powerful facilitation today. Right, and so up and coming, yes, we're gonna have tomorrow, January 10th, Watch Your Mouth, Part 2, facilitated by Sister Faye Walker, right? You don't want to miss that one, right? And on Tuesday, the one and only Cheryl Glenn, Coach Cheryl, the Marvel of Soap, right? So we have some real powerful hygienetic type facilitation to start us off, right? For this coming week. So please stay tuned, tune in. Right, and so those who are new to the space, we welcome you. Thank you for coming through and co-creating such a powerful session today. If you are new, let us know, type in your name in the chat, and please feel free to come back through and co-create another powerful experience. I mean, once you are entered into, you are part of the FOO family, and we welcome you. Right, so let's stay tuned to our wake up schedule. Right, so we have a Zoom live workshops every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 a.m. to 8:30. And on Monday and Wednesdays, we do from 7 to 7:30 a.m. And if you don't get us live, you can Zoom live workshops and stream us on Facebook and get our Woo alerts. Right, and text Woo Nation to 74121 in order to get our alerts and stay attuned to the Woo schedule. Right, so we want to continue. We're post the season, we're into the new year, and we want to make sure that we are promoting ourselves through Woo, and so we have all type of swag that you can check out. You know, check us out today. You get your journal so that you, when we tuned in and we have powerful workshops like we did today, you can take note. You can continue to be on your own journey and your own process of expanding and growing. So get your Woodrobe as well as some of the other paraphernalia that we have for our family. Visit us online, bit.ly//Woo swag. Right, and once again, thank you so much for your participation and your engagement today. You know, stay in touch. You can register with us at bit.ly/wake up movement. Stay connected with us on Facebook, bit.ly/Woo community. That's for the private, and bit.ly/Woo nation. It's up on the gram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. Check us out on YouTube, bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. And of course, we can email us info.wakeupseries@gmail. Thank you, thank you. And so at this time, it's time to shower our sister Martine with lots of love. Thank you so much for your participation, and we can unmute and give acknowledgements to Sister Martine.
Love you, Queen Martine.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martine, for
I
this
got
great
a
exercise
lot
on
out
the
of it. I
family.
was very late, but it was very great.
We're gonna be on
Thank
here
everyone for this
3-4 more
exercise.
times.
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Your
Stay
boundaries
listening forward,
clear
everybody.
around
Thank you so
certain
much.
mistakes
It was
and
so
Wonderful.
consequences, and I
valuable.
appreciate it as well. So
Appreciate your time.
thank
John,
you.
good to see
Thank you.
you.
Be here with you
Have a
guys.
great
Martine, I
day,
love
everybody.
you, Nation.
Thank you.
It was so
Yes.
appreciative. It
Thank
was
you.
amazing to
I
be here.
love
Thank
y'all.
you.
Love you. Thank you. Wake
Thank you.
up,
Y'all have a
everybody,
good day. I love
family. Thank you,
y'all.
admin team. You too. Your skin is popping. All right. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Love y'all.
Love you, love you, love you.
Great job.
Everyone.